Ignite, from dreams to reality.
Having registered, as a business, either as a limited company or as an enterprise or as a firm, maybe like my accounting firm, is not a limited company. I have Pedable Audit Services and we also have Pedable Associate Limited, okay? For the limited company, there are taxes that are payable on monthly basis and there are those that are payable on yearly basis. As a business entrepreneur, you must file what is called VAT returns on a monthly basis, okay? Within 21 days after the end of each month, you file returns for VAT.
Can I take you on VAT? Yeah. So I want their learnings to be clear.
Okay.
So that's why I'm interjecting. VAT is a statutory charge. It's not your money and it's not your expense. Am I right?
Yeah, VAT is a value-added tax, which means the tax on the value you have added to your product. Yeah. Okay, if you buy raw material to produce paint, okay, you mix it, you add some, whatever, maybe your total cost is about 100,000, okay, and at the end of the day, you have added value to that, your total cost, and then you are now able to sell at 150. Okay, it is assumed that you have added value that is worth how much? 50,000. Yes. Okay, so the VAT that is due to government is the 5% of the value added. Okay, it is a consumption tax such that devolves in successive stages, such that at the end of the day, it is the consumer that bears the tax. So when you pay 5%, when you have suffered 5% on 100,000, and then you charge 5% on 150, which is 7,005 minus 5,000, how much is due to government? 2,500, which is exactly 5% of 50,000.
Yes, and so the 5,000 that you paid originally is returned back to the business. Did you notice? Because if you spent 100,000 to buy material and you paid 5% VAT on it, you would have paid 105,000 instead of 100,000. When you're selling and your selling price is 150,000, your customer will pay you 150,000 plus 5% VAT, which is 7,500. But in filing returns to the government at the end of the month, what you're going to, the return you will file is for 2,500. The original 5,000 that you paid has returned back to you. So the final payer of the VAT is not you, it's the consumer. And that's why you can't keep it, because at no point were you responsible for it. It's money that belongs to government. Now, I can tell you the mistakes that we all can make from our businesses. Yeah. One is that the customer comes to you and says, I can't pay VAT, and because you want to sell, you say, Madam, but VAT is going. I say, no, I can't pay. I say, okay, just pay me the 150. Now, mistake number one, the VAT that is due to government from it, 2,500, becomes your cost. Because it has now become additional discount that you have given to your customer. It's not government's business that you chose to trade discounting the VAT. So you must learn to defend the VAT when you are negotiating with your customer. Otherwise, when you are pricing your goods, price the VAT into it. But it's always safer, so you do not appear more expensive than your competition, to price without VAT, so that the VAT component is seen separately. And the customer can understand that this is not your money, it's government money. And if you are giving a discount on your price, give a discount on your price before VAT. Do you understand? So that by the time you're writing your final invoice, it is the discounted price plus the VAT due on that discounted price that you charge. And that's what becomes payable to the government. Whether you collect it from the customer or not, you are liable to pay. The other thing that we do is that when we don't make the VAT returns immediately after the month, the money goes into our business, and you know what can happen. Before you know it, month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, instead of paying 2,500 at the end of June, if by November I realize I have not paid VAT since January to November, the cumulative amount becomes a large amount that becomes more difficult for me to pay. And it can throw your business into trouble, apart from the fact that there are penalties.
Penalty and interest. Okay. Like I said, you are expected to file that VAT returns at the end of each month within 21 days. Where you fail to file that return, okay, there is penalty for not filing the return. Where you fail to pay the VAT, there is penalty plus interest at the ruling commercial rate. So it is, most times I advise my clients, if you look at the penalty and interest that the Federal Inland Revenue Service will charge you, it is even safer for you to go and borrow money from bank and pay your tax than wait for government taxes, with their high penalty. So apart from VAT that is payable on monthly basis, we also have withholding tax, okay? When you do a supply to a government or to any company, it is the responsibility of the government or the company to deduct 5% depending on the type of transaction, 5% or 10% from the amount that is due to you, okay? So the same thing also applies to you as an enterprise. If you ask somebody to supply you anything, you are expected to withhold 5%, is a payment in advance for that, for the person, from the person you are deducting from, because it's like the person is paying the tax in advance. But you have now become an unpaid agent of the government who now has responsibility to withhold from the person's income. And where you fail to carry out that agency service, which is compulsory and unpaid for, you are held liable. And on top of that, they can also charge you penalty and interest. These are not your burden, okay? You are only carrying out responsibility given to you by government. That one is also expected to be remitted on monthly basis.
And if you don't deduct the money, when government comes for its money, what will happen?
It becomes your liability. On
top
of that, you pay penalty and interest, okay? Cost that is not yours at all. And it's always very difficult to go back to the person from whom you are supposed to deduct to start explaining that, you see, I'm supposed to have deducted, I didn't deduct, the guy will not listen to you. So that is a second type of what? Tax, withholding tax, which is also remittable on monthly basis. At the end of the year, when you have prepared, you have operated for, let's say, a whole year, January to December, okay, you are supposed to prepare an account to show how much income you have made, remove all your expenses, and ascertain your profit, okay? It is on that profit that you now pay tax, corporate tax, if it is a limited company, that you pay tax to the federal government. If it is an enterprise or Ojo and Co type of a business, you prepare the accounts, okay? You don't need to publish it, you don't need an auditor, it's something you can prepare. Submit it to the state where you are resident, okay, and pay personal income tax on it. An enterprise is not liable to corporate tax. It is the owner who is deemed to have generated the income, and then you pay tax. If it's a partnership, okay, the profit will be shared among the partners in the agreed profit-sharing ratio, and each partner will be held liable to the tax due on the profit that the person has shared. That is payable on a yearly basis. In fact, you are supposed to submit your return, if it's a limited company, within 6 months after your accounting year end. So if your account ends December 2011, you must file the return latest by 30th of June. Okay? And there's a new self-assessment regulation that is in place, which also expects you to pay the income tax on your profit within the stipulated time for filing the return. But for small entrepreneur, individuals, you are more or less an individual, okay? ABC Enterprises is not liable to tax. It is the owner of the enterprise that is subject to what? Personal income tax, which is payable to the State Internal Revenue Service of the territory where you are resident.
So the company tax is a federal tax.
Corporate tax is federal.
VAT is federal.
Okay, yes.
And personal income tax is state.
If you are resident in Abuja, you pay to Federal Inland Revenue Service. Withholding tax is payable to the relevant authority that is responsible for the person from whom you have deducted the withholding tax. If the withholding tax is deducted from payment due to a company, the withholding tax should be remitted to the Federal Inland Revenue Service. If you have deducted it from an individual that is a supplier, the withholding tax is payable to the state where that supplier is resident. Okay, and that is why we said it is an advance payment of tax. Withholding tax is not a type of tax per se. It is an advance payment of tax.
Okay, but something else on the advance payment nature of withholding tax, which a lot of businesses, small, medium, even large, do not fully take advantage of, is when you serve a company and they deduct withholding tax from your final payment, what you already have is a credit towards your own taxes that you should pay. Now, there are many companies that deduct withholding tax from you and probably do not remit it to government. And you tend to just leave it as a cost as well. What are they supposed to do?
Well, as soon as payment is due to you and withholding tax is deducted, the company that has deducted or the enterprise that has deducted the tax is expected also to remit that tax to the relevant tax authority within 21 days. It is your responsibility to continue to pursue the company, okay, that so much you have deducted from my money, can I have what is called a credit note? Because that credit note shows that you have paid tax in advance, so that by the time you are now filing your own return and you have ascertained your income, you have calculated the tax, and there is so much tax that is due on that. Whatever you are supposed to pay to government, you reduce it with what? With the credit note. But if you cannot produce that credit note, the authority will not give you that credit. So you must continue, as part of the responsibility. If you are an individual, your responsibility, or if it's a big company, the account must continuously write the person that has deducted the tax, please, have you remitted the tax? Where is my credit note? Okay, whether it is for state, Lagos State also issues credit note where taxes are deducted at source. You can pursue it, and you can use it as an advance payment of tax.
Ignite, from dreams to reality.